Riddle me this, motherlecker.
Here's a very fun number puzzle. You start out with 3 identical copies of each number and you need to make it equal to 6. The puzzle is to make each equation true using common mathematical operations. There are 2 rules. First, you cannot introduce any new digits. So for example, the operation of cube root would not be allowed because it involves the digit 3. The second rule is you must have the result equal to 6. You cannot use the not equal symbol. We'll start solving these by going from some of the more straightforward and easy ones to then some of the more involved and harder problems. Let's start out with 2 = 6. We can solve this by using the equation 2 + 2 + 2 is equal to 6. So we've already figured out 1. Now 6 is also similar. We can take 6 + 6 - 6 to get to 6, or we can also do 6 times 6 over 6 is equal to 6 for our aggregation of solutions. Let's just go with the first equation. Now let's solve 7 = 6. We can do this as 7 - 7 over 7 is equal to 6. We get a very similar solution for 555. We can take 5 - 3 is equal to 6. We can also do 3 factorial times 3 over 3 is equal to 6. Or we can do something like the square root of the quantity 3 times 3 and then we can add 3 and that's also equal to 6. So for presentation purposes I'll just take 3 times 3 minus 3 is equal to 6. Now, let's solve 9 is equal to 6. Well, one trick we can use is let's take the square root of each of these 9s. Here's a handy mathematician's trick. Since the square root of 9 is equal to 3, we have reduced the problem to solving 3 is equal to 6, and this problem has previously been solved, so any of our solutions for 3 is equal to 6 will also apply to this 9. Once we've applied the square root to each of the 9s, so we could solve this as the square root of 9 times the square root of 9 minus the square root of 9. That's equal to 6, or we take the quantity the square root of 9 factorial plus the square root of 9 minus the square root of 9 is equal to 6. Or we have some other solutions like the square root of 9 factorial times 9 over 9 is equal to 6, or the quantity square root of 9 times the square root of 9 / the square root of 9. We take the whole thing and the factorial of that, and that is also equal to 6. For presentation purposes I'll just take this first equation. Now let's go to 4 for 4 is equal to 6. Well, once again we can take the square root of each of these numbers again. We have our handy trick. Since the square root of 4 is equal to, we have reduced the problem to 2 is equal to 6, and that's previously been solved. For example, we can take the sum of these numbers and that'll be equal to 6. But if you don't want to do that, you can also do the quantity 4 minus 4 over 4. And we take the factorial of that quantity. We can also do the square root of 4 plus 4 over 4. We take that entire quantity and then take the factorial of that, and that's also equal to 6. So for presentation purposes let's just take this first equation. Now let's solve 10 is equal to 6. Let's do this in steps. We'll do 10 minus 10 over 10, and at this point our result is equal to 9. Well, now take the square root of this to get to a result of 3. Then we will take the factorial, so that's how we can get 10 equals 6. Now what about 1? Well, notice if we add the 3 numbers we get 2/3, and then we'll take the factorial and that's equal to 6. So now how do we solve 0 is equal to 6? Well, first we'll take the factorial of each of these numbers. We again use a mathematician's trick. Since 0 factorial is equal to 1, we have reduced the problem to 1 is equal to 6, which has previously been solved. So we add up these numbers and then we take the factorial of the sum, and that will be equal to 6. Finally, how do we solve 8 is equal to 6? Many people consider this to be the hardest of all of these equations. So we'll work in steps. We'll take 8 plus 8, and that's equal to 16. We'll take the square root of that, and the square root of 16 is equal to 4. We then take the square root of the square root of that, so the square root of the square root of 16 will be equal to 2. Now we take 8 minus 2, and that's equal to 6. So that's one way to solve this, but another way that you could solve this is, you could take 8 plus 8 over 8, and that'll be equal to 9. We then take the square root of 9, which will be equal to 3, and then we take the factorial of 3, and that's equal to 6. So that's it, we figured out how to get 6 in each of these equations. Did you figure it out?
Riddle me this, mother lecker.